Good evening, our guests and viewers tonight. It's my pleasure to welcome you to Elombah Television tonight. It is another of Anambra 2021 exclusive interview, and our guest tonight is Chief Ben Etiaba. Chief Etiaba is an APC Governorship Aspirant for Anambra State. Chief Etiaba, you are welcome to our program.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted and I feel it's a privilege to be on this platform this evening.
All right, sir. To start off, can you please tell us about yourself?
Okay, I'm Ben Etiaba. I'm 57. I'm from Newi. I am the first child to the late Chief Magistrate BMC Etiaba and the wife Dembeje Etiaba. I'm a chartered accountant, and I have been, in my short life, a former chairman of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria in the United Kingdom district. I've held several roles. I have also just ended my tenure as the executive chairman of Enugu Sports Club. But as the program goes on, I think I'll say a bit more about myself. I'm running for governor on the platform of All Progressives Congress, and the primaries will hold exactly 2 weeks from today. So I think it's a good omen that you're hosting me on this auspicious Saturday evening. Hopefully by the evening of the Saturday, the 26th, Lady Luck would have smiled at me. And so I think in a nutshell, that's the introduction. But if you want me to say more, I can go on.
Yes, can you please tell us about your academic background?
All right, okay. Like I said earlier, I'm a chartered accountant. I chartered on both sides of the aisle in England and in Nigeria. That's what I do. I'm strictly a professional. I'm an auditor. I'm a management consultant. I worked like that in England, and I came back. I'm a practicing chartered accountant and auditor in Nigeria. That's the much I can say.
Okay, what schools did you attend, starting from the primary school level, please, if you don't mind?
All right, okay.
Yes.
I started my primary school during the war. So we studied under trees before, to avoid the air raids and all that. But after the war, my primary school commenced in 1968, if I'm correct. After the war, we continued at Etiaba. It was actually Etiaba Central School, but that's been studying under the tree. But in 1974, I passed my common entrance into Orifite Boys. I was there for a time. Then I went to Okongu Memorial Grammar School in Newi. I was there till 1976. And then I went to Enugu because we were moving. My father was being transferred from one station to another. He was the chief magistrate at the time. So my secondary school was completed in Enugu, National Boys Grammar School, Enugu. And I did my O-levels there in 1979, passed all my exams in one sitting. Then after that, I went to School of Arts and Science, Uyo, for my basic studies before going to London to study at West London College, trained as a chartered accountant at Accountancy Tutors. And the rest is history. And then, of course, I went to South Bank University too, in all those years.
All right. So at what point did you decide to dabble into partisan politics?
Okay, this is one question nobody has ever asked me, funnily enough. And if I tell you at what point, you'll be surprised. It was actually, I remember quite precisely, it was in September of the year 2001. In September of 2001, my mother wasn't deputy governor. Peter Obi hadn't actually contested to run to govern Anambra State. That was then. I led a group of chartered accountants from London, from England, to an ICANN conference in Abuja. And there and then I had a meeting with General Gowon. It wasn't a planned meeting, it was a chance meeting. But I think I impressed him. He remarked on, there's a picture to attest to that, in September 2001. And there and then I decided I was going to take part. This current dispensation was new. It had started in 1999. And this was happening in 2001. So 2 years after that, Obasanjo was president. And I recall, when you attend ICANN conferences, usually we hold it at the time, it was held at Hilton, Nikon Hilton at the time. I recall buying a book that was very badly printed, How to Win Elections. It was badly printed, but very, very well written. And I used that book to win 4 elections in a row and lost none. I read it and I practiced everything in that book. And it has always worked for me. Then, of course, my mom ran with Peter Obi in 2003. They eventually got their mandate in 2006. I was still in England, and she, in between, took over for 3 months and as governor. And then His Excellency Governor Peter Obi returned quite rightly to office in February of 2007. But I came back to Nigeria late in 2007 after all of that. And while in Nigeria, I thought I had led a number of groups in England. By then, I had led NEWI Community Association of Great Britain and Ireland, the first bachelor to lead the group, and certainly no one under the age of 30 ever led a group like that in England. The grandparents in the 90s, their 90s, 80s, and 70s, and the parents all voted, and I won the election unexpectedly. A young man under 30. This was 30 years ago. I was 27 then, I'm 57 now. So I have a 30-year span of leadership. So after leading them, I had my second term unopposed. And then after that, I became the first person from the Southeast to win the chairmanship of ICANN, the first person of Igbo extraction to win the chairmanship of ICANN in UK. I led ICANN for 2 terms. I got my second term unopposed. And if you check your record, you'll find that no chairman of ICANN ever since had a second term. It just so happened that I have that testimony to give, that not because I was better than any chairman before me or since, but because it pleased God, and I'm sure the people that elected me liked what they saw and re-elected me unopposed. And no one has ever achieved that. I give glory to God. But like I say, with every sense of humility, I'm not better than anyone else. But before coming back, Obasanjo was president, and he set up, along with the High Commissioner, what was then known as the London Group. The idea of the London Group was to bring together all the Nigerian professionals in the UK, the top accountants, chartered accountants, the top doctors, lawyers, name them, engineers, architects. And an election was called. And against all expectations, Ben Etiaba emerged the leader of the London Group in 2005. It was after that I came back, and I came back in 2007, 2 years after that, having led them. I hosted the then Senate president, among so many things I achieved as chairman, and he came with 10 senators. 2 later became governors, Governor Ipikunlo Amosu of Ogun State, who just handed over last year, and Moman Ali of Yobe State, who died in office. Both of them later became, they were senators at the time, but they later became governors. Senator Joy Emodi came, Senator Ben Obi, Senator Azu Aboti, a number of them. Ude was then had left the House of Reps, also came. So I did all of that, came back, and I chose to live in the Southeast. And the reason was quite simply this, that I knew that at some point I'll be doing this. And if I was going to run for governor in my own state, Anambra State, the best way to prepare for that was to, as far as I was concerned, to prepare outside of politics, because I wanted to, bring a different set of values to the political sphere. I didn't want to go through the House of to contest as a councillor, as a local government chairman, or as House of Assembly, or be a commissioner, or House of Reps or Senate. No, I avoided all of that. I prepared myself as outside of politics precisely because I wanted to see politics and leadership from a different perspective, to bring to bear different sets of values. And so far, I believe it is working, because if you look at my campaign, I think it's different. It might not be better than any campaign, but it's very innovative. I'm coming from an angle nobody expects an aspirant to come from, and I take delight in that. So, but anyway, whilst living in Enugu, I trained all my kids in Nigeria. The politicians usually will train their kids abroad, and they will say, vote for me, I'll fix the schools and I'll bring my kids back. But I brought my kids back, despite the fact that it was costing me a lot to train them in Nigeria instead of what obtains in England, that they could have had their free education. And then I led 2 important groups in Nigeria. In Enugu, I became the first person to be captain of the golf section of Enugu Sports Club, to achieve it within 3 years of being a member since 1929. It never happened. You are captain of all the group, the good, the great, all the governors and former and whatever in the Southeast. And I led them as captain. You needed time to bond with members before you can earn their confidence to elect you. But that happened very quickly. And after that, I also became the first person to achieve the chairmanship of Enugu Sports Club. Within 5 years of being a member, you're the chairman of the governor. and the governors. So it happened, and what I did at the golf section of the sports club, I did 15 projects in 2 years, 15, 1-5, and I never asked them for 1 naira. Just goodwill. I'll call my friends, they donated, and I did a lot of buildings. I did 5 buildings in 2 years from foundation, and no levy to any member. At sports club, I brought a lot of innovation. I decided I wasn't going to do a lot of infrastructural work, but I did some, but not as much as I did at the golf section. But I brought some innovative ideas. You may have heard of Nkata Umuibe. Nkata Umuibe, that's where we discuss issues of common interest to the Igbo nation. And I did that as I did the platform. In fact, I called it, the platform was the name I chose, but it was changed to the stage, I believe, because I think the platform was trademarked. People like Kingsley Moore took to the stage, and O.C. Chidoka and all of that. But Nkata Umuibe, all okay, Ndibe, Chidode Nkalu, so many Professor Anyogolu, so we had so many prominent people, sort of come to speak to us. So I started changing the narrative and using the sports club as a platform. So after sports club, I thought, look, it is now time. I was prepared enough to dabble into this, and I do it with every seriousness. I'm not in this to be settled. I'm not in this to be noticed. I'm not in this to be compensated. This is a serious attempt to change the course of our people, because I feel so frustrated seeing that very basic things are not being done. It's, and these are not things that are so difficult to work out what the solutions should be. So I feel that this is time to contribute a bit. I've trained all my kids, they're all graduates, all of them graduates, and they've all done their youth service. So I have nothing better to do with my time but to donate it back to society, give a little back to a state that has given so much to me. That's why I'm in this race. I'm in it to serve. I'm in this not to acquire a new title that I never had before now. I'm in it not because my mother tested it and tried it, and by all accounts, and the Anambra, they're very, very happy with her. That's not my word. That's why they call her Mama Anambra today. But I'm not doing this because of her. I'm doing it because I believe I learned something in England that I believe if we practice, we'll have the tendency or the opportunity of us leaving where we are to where we ought to be, okay? Because a great leader should be somebody with the capacity to take his people or his organization from where they are to where they ought to be, not where they want to be, but where they ought to be. Because what I see is that a lot of our people are not even aware of what's broken. So they are fixing the wrong problems. So I think I've said enough.
Yeah, all right. Thank you very much. You said you've addressed my question.
Thank you.
My next question would be, what is the first political party you joined in the country?
Okay, before now, I never belonged to any political party. When I chose to do this, I looked at the major parties with capacity to win this election. I looked at APGA, the incumbent party. I looked at PDP. Anambra, if we want to be honest with ourselves, it's a PDP state, which is why you have PDP senators all the time, PDP have members of the House of Reps all the time. I looked at PDP. I didn't think APGA was the right party for me, for many reasons. Some of those reasons I may not say on air. I didn't think PDP was the right party for me. With PDP, I just thought every 4 years they implode, and it's happening already. So why go waste my time in a party that at the end of the day will implode? That was how I saw it. There was something not Brad Solos, John Scully said. John Scully was president of Pepsi Cola, and he was a former CEO of Apple. He said that the future belongs to those who see possibilities before they become obvious. So I looked at the parties and I thought, APC, people are not really looking at that party. But if you look critically at that party, and I'm sure you ask me further questions on this, and I'll be quite happy to tell you, to answer that. If you see what I'm saying, you'll be able to work out that if that party nominates the right candidate, now who's the right candidate? Because I'm the one saying it, somebody like me, for instance, because I'm the one talking about right candidate. It doesn't have to be Ben Etiaba, it can be anyone, but in that mold. And if the party remains united after the nomination, that party has a good chance of winning Anambra State governorship election come November 6th, freely and fairly. So I chose APC as the first political party that I will belong to.
So basically you are telling us that the first political party you joined in Nigeria is the all APC. So in what year did you join that party?
Okay, I joined, I will not just tell you the year, I'll tell you the day, because I remember that precisely. I joined APC precisely on the 12th of September, 2019.
Do you consider yourself as being a political amateur then? Politically inexperienced?
Not at all. People think, people think I'm a political neophyte, but I think they are beginning to reassess because when they see what I'm doing, it gives credence to being an amateur politician when they see what I'm doing. But when they see the results I'm achieving, they're beginning to sit up to say, hey, this guy is coming from an angle that we're not looking at. I am not coming through the front door, Elombah. I'm not even coming in through the back door. I'm coming in through the back window where you least expect me to enter the room from. So I'm doing it differently. And that's the only thing that will, sort of have the Brad Solos, who is someone I also love and I quote. I follow him on Twitter and he follows me on Twitter too. And Barack Obama, by the way, follows him. He made a comment 2 nights ago to my tweet, the last one I did before the Twitter was banned in Nigeria. Brad Solos said once that the key to success is to do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. And what I am doing, believe me, is the opposite of what everyone else is doing. And I believe that will lead me to that success, God willing, because it's God that gives power. Thank you.
Okay, very much so. I will go to your visions for Anambra State in a moment. I know you'll be happy to speak about that. But permit me, first of all, to raise this question. 2 days ago, precisely, when I told my friend that I'm interviewing Chief Ben Etiaba, he asked me which party. I said APC. He said the first question I should ask you is, do you really believe that APC will win an election in Anambra State? What do you think?
Okay, I'll answer that precisely. The answer is yes. If I didn't believe that, I will not be in APC. I've given you my analysis. But let me go even beyond that to tell you this. That political parties in Nigeria don't have ideologies. They're not like your Conservative Party or Labour Party in England. They're not like your Republicans or Democratic Party in the US, that you have clear distinguishing characteristics and ideologies. None so whatsoever in Nigeria. In Nigeria, there are no political ideologies. These political parties are just mere vehicles. If you're going from Nnewi to Lagos, you can either go Rizumotos or Ife Sinachi or GU or whichever vehicle you want to use. Political platforms in Nigeria are vehicles. People go from one to the other. Let me begin to give you examples of what I'm saying. Today you have Soludo in Abga. Soludo, don't forget, contested the governorship election as the candidate of PDP in 2010. Have you forgotten that? Governor Peter Obi was in Abga. In fact, he was the face of Abga globally, apart from the spiritual father of Abga. Today, he was the vice presidential candidate of PDP. Emeka Ojukwu Jr. was in Abga. He left Abga to APC. Then he went back from APC to Abga. These things mean nothing. Uche Ekwunife has gone from PPA. She went from PDP to PPA. She went to Abga at some point. She was in APC at some point. Today she's in PDP. It just doesn't change who she is. Okay, so the point I'm making is that this Obaze, my good friend, went from Abga, became the candidate of PDP at the last election. Okay, Tony Moye left PDP to APC, now back to. So let's stop paying far too much emphasis on political parties. What is important is the person, the candidate. This election will be about the candidates and not the political parties. Once the candidates of the parties emerge, you will be assessing who you will vote for based on, will it be Ben Etiaba in APC, God willing? Will it be Mr. B or Miss B, Mrs. B in Mr. or Mrs. in PDP? Or will it be Mr. C in APGA? So it just does not matter. Once we line up, I say we line up because I'm praying to God. My hope is that my wish aligns with God's will, because God will always determine these things. Once, if I emerge, you will not be looking at APGA or PDP or APC, because Ben Etiaba in APC will still be the same person as Ben Etiaba in APGA, will be the same person as Ben Etiaba in PDP. Listen, these parties mean nothing. If a governor fails, don't blame his party, blame him. People have used the same party to do well in their states, and others have used the same party to fail in their states. It's not about the party, it's about the person. Elombah, have I done well in taking the question?
Yes. Before another question I would like to ask, before we go into the nitty-gritty of Anambra politics, is your brother Emeka Etiaba is contesting on the platform of the PDP, and you are contesting on the platform of APC. How do you look at it? How does it sound to you?
It sounds very, very exciting to me and very good to me. And I'm not trying to be to play down on your question, because I know why you're asking that question. This is a question I've had to deal with every day. So I think I know the answer to that question. Emeka is a brother, is my younger brother. I love him dearly. We're not quarreling. If you come to, I don't know if you've been to our house, you may have been, I don't know. If you have been, no, don't worry, you don't need to answer that, so they don't show any bias. So if you have ever been to our house, you'll find that all of us live in the same compound. I'm the head of the family since 1987, when we lost our father. You know, traditionally, our mom is still there. She's our mother. She's the umbrella of all of us. But ever since 87, our father died, I told my siblings that, yes, we have other lands. You can even go buy land anywhere and build your house. But no, we're not going to do that. All of us will live in the same compound. So we drive in through the same gate, and we live through the same gate. No second gate, no back door gate, no side gate. Also, Chuba will have to live through that same gate. If you come into our house, the first house you see, into our compound, Madhugu Villa. My father was Madhugu. You come into Madhugu Villa, the first house you see on the right is mine. Okay? I call my house Princess House, named after my daughter. The next house you see is that of Echezona, your friend. The second senior advocate of Nigeria that the family produced. Then Henry Okenwa, who lives in London with you guys, owns the main one that faces the gate. In fact, the showpiece of the compound, once you drive in his house, is the one you see. Okay, and then Emeka has the last one, the beautiful house he has there. All of us live together happily. Our mom has her bungalow, which is the only house she has anywhere in the world. We just don't quarrel. Emeka contested for governor in 2010 against an incumbent governor, Peter Obi. So if he was qualified to contest in 2010, obviously he's qualified to contest for governor today. So that's the first one. So I give it to him, he's completely qualified. Emeka has a clear vision for Anambra, completely different to mine. We see politics differently. My vision is wholly different, completely different. Okay? Now, we are friends in my family who agree on everything else except politics. Because having lived in England and what I saw in England shaping my life, you can understand why I'll be frustrated when I see the things I see in Nigeria. Emeka was preparing, I thought he had done. In 2010, I supported my brother. I mean, I gave him every support. Now I'm supporting myself because I'm running too, but we're not quarreling. Now, after 2010, I erroneously thought he was done with politics and was facing his career. I just did not know he was nursing the same ambition to run. And like I told you, I have been preparing since September of 2001. By the 2010 election, I wasn't ready. By 2014 election, I was not ready. By the last election timetable, I still was not ready. Now I am ready, fully ready. So I offer myself to serve. If you didn't think I had the capacity to govern Anambra State or the qualifications to run, you will not be interviewing me tonight.
All right.
Interviewing me precisely because you believe I can get this job done, and you want to sort of squeeze the juice out of me tonight, and I'm quite happy to be grilled.
All right. Thank you.
There's no thing about it. And Elombah, let me just finish. Let me just conclude on this one.
Yes.
The reason why people are worried about two members of the same family running an election like this is because we have seen leadership, governorship as ticket to wealth, which it should not be. Because we have seen it as go there, go enjoy, go make unnecessary illicit wealth, which it should not be. If you're seeing it as service, like I see it, like Dr. M.I. Abara's offered, it just doesn't matter if 10 members of the same family are coming out. Etiaba family will never determine who will be governor of Anambra State. Newi, as a town, will never determine. We have the lowest voting population. Newi will never determine the governor of Anambra State. So it will be left to the other 20 local governments to produce a governor for Anambra State, irrespective of whether that person is at Etiaba or not. Thank you.
All right. Now let's come to Anambra politics. Meanwhile, if you are just joining Elombah Television, either on YouTube, Facebook, or even on WhatsApp, or here, we are speaking with Chief Ben Etiaba, an APC Governorship Aspirant in Anambra State. In the next 30 minutes or so, we'll start taking questions, or in the next 20 minutes or so, we'll start taking questions from those in the forum or those who will type their questions on Facebook. I'll read it, or on the chat room here and pick up the question. If you want to ask your question yourself, when it's time, kindly indicate by raising up your hand using your device. Now let's come to Anambra politics. What do you see is the most important problem facing the common Onye Anambra today?
Okay, security, insecurity, lack of security is the biggest issue facing us today. And this is why if you go to my 5 cardinal points, security is number 1. Our people are no longer able to sleep with their eyes closed. In all fairness to Governor Obiano, I think he did well in that area in the first term and in the first few months of the second term. But this whole thing has overwhelmed him. And it's a bit sad for me that a lot of our people cannot go to Anambra anymore. They are choosing not to. What was happening before is beginning to happen again, where events that ought to be held in Anambra are now being taken away from this. So security is number 1 for me. And I think I urge the governor, who is the chief security officer of the state, to really do more. I am sure he's not sleeping. I'm not here to pound him over that. He didn't call for this. But so this is now time to show the stuff you're made of as the chief security officer of the state.
So what will you do about security if you become the governor?
Give you proper security, secure the place, secure the state.
How can you do that?
The president was, I'll get to it. President was interviewed a few days ago, a recent interview in the last few hours. And he said that the governor should really secure their states. So there is a good budget for this. There is no reason why any a serious governor, especially if you have a good relationship with the center, which is why I'm advocating that we should go to the center of Nigerian politics, which is one of the reasons why I'm using APC. Because there is also an anomaly in our constitution where the governors are said to be the chief security officers of their states, but they are not in control of their police, the police commissioners in their states who gives the command to the police force that are there to enforce security. So I will ensure that as an APC governor, I maintain a good relationship with the center so that I can get what I want when it comes to that part of dealing with the security agencies, the military, the police, and all of that, DSS. Okay, so you need that. You need to have a good relation, not to go cap in hand begging them. What is your right? Enforce it. If you have a governor who knows what to do, he should enforce that. But let me also tell you this. Chris Ngige was governor in Anambra State for 3 years. They took away every police compliment from him. And the police in Anambra became hostile to him. But he was able to keep Anambra safe using the vigilante in Anambra. Okay? So I will ensure that these people are really structured properly, trained properly, funded properly, given the backing to enforce security in Anambra. Every politics is local, every crime is local. You cannot tell me that we don't know with proper intelligence who are behind these things. The governors, not just in Anambra, all over Nigeria, in the south, they know what is going on. But I am not governor. I am not privy to the intelligence report on security. So I cannot begin to proffer solutions without knowing the actual cause of the problems. So what I'll say is that I'll give a guarantee that I'll give teeth to our own homegrown security agencies. Look at what's happening in the Southwest. My good friend, Governor Keredolu, is in charge of Amotego. And the place is safe, or at least safer than it used to be. You need a governor that knows what he's doing, very confident about his powers, and who knows how to enforce it to be able to keep us safe. And that's what I intend to do. And then to fund it, because there's enough money there. You often hear about governor security force. It is there, and that to be used to enforce security. And without security, you cannot fix education. You cannot fix healthcare. You cannot fix agriculture. Because our women and our young ones will be in the farms and they'll be kidnapped and all of that. You cannot even fix integrated infrastructure, which is the fifth point in our agenda. So security is priority, and I guarantee I'll enforce that.
So some people will say that the insecurity in the Southeast is peculiar, because what we used to have is problem of armed robbery, and then we now moved into kidnapping. But today, the insecurity in the Southeast is mainly caused by the clash between Fulani herdsmen and farmers. And then we now have the problem of ESN, and now the federal military forces trying to stop the burning of police stations and the killing of security personnel. Do you see the ideology behind IPOB as a problem, for instance, in solving the security problem in Anambra State?
No, I won't say so. I won't put it like that at all. When you look at IPOB agitation, not just IPOB, all other agitations across the nation, there is one common trait underlying them. Bad leadership is what is given oxygen to all of these agitations. Bad leadership. You see, when you have our youth who have no reason to believe that tomorrow will be better than today, what do you expect them to do? There are no jobs. The economy is in a mess. Even the environment is in a mess. Okay? And there is no hope that tomorrow will be better than today. Come on, what do you expect? The moment we begin to enthrone the right leaders and the right type of leadership, these agitations will not go away completely, but they will die down to a manageable level. So what? These guys, they are as frustrated as I am, as you are. They see these things, we see them. That's their own way of solving it. But once as leaders, if I'm lucky to be elected, we will begin to take the right steps. You don't need to appease anybody. All you need to do is to do the right things. And once you begin to do the right things, people will line up behind you and support you. But for as long as the leadership is as terrible as it is at the moment, and I'm not talking about Anambra State alone in this, it's like that in Nigeria, and even like that in Africa. For as long as this whole mess will continue, these agitations will get worse.
Right, I will come back to certain issue regarding security, but let's treat another topic that is very, very important to Anambra people, as I have found out. Let's look at the problem of education. Anambra has high level of school dropout, especially among the male populace. Do you see that as a problem? Have you done any research on that issue?
Okay. Anambra has that problem. And if it was not for security, the issue of insecurity, education would have been our #1 priority. Education would have been our #2 priority and would have been our #3 priority. That's how highly placed education is in my psyche. Anambra presently, we come third in the education league table year on year, just hover around the 3rd position. But I see that Anambra is the light of the nation. Come on. That third, we attain every year. It's as a result of what the previous governors have done. I have to give them credit. I'm not here just to talk about rubbish everybody. I'm here to draw a line and move on and say, hey, if APC wins and wins with better Etiaba, this is what we'll do. So in education, what you asked me is the dropout. Let me tell you what we need to do in education. I want to be able to take Anambra State from third to first in 4 years, and it is doable. It is doable once you have the will. Have you seen our schools and what they look like? We hardly have schools that look like proper schools that you know. Okay? Our schools, most of them don't have perimeter fencing. They don't have, a lot of them, windows. Some of them no roof or ceiling. The first thing we'll do is to very quickly, can be done within 12 months, fix our schools to look like proper schools. Have the right perimeter fencing. It is good for security. We're talking about security. That's all part of that security, okay? Recruit the right teachers and retrain the existing teachers. Motivate these teachers by paying them promptly and properly, but also equip the schools. By the time you've done all of these things, hey, should be able to take us from where we are to where we should be. And if the schools are attractive enough for these pupils to attend, students to attend, of course you will more or less eliminate that level of dropping out. And of course, and also if they see that there is light at the end of the tunnel, that after going through this process, there's going to be a reward, you're going to get jobs, then of course they'll stay because the incentive is there to stay. So what are we going to do? We'll have schools that look like schools, okay, and train pupils and students that will come out looking like students. My kids all of them did primary school, secondary school, first degree in Nigeria, all of them. It hasn't cost them anything. They have all done their youth service. They have lost nothing. So I believe in this system. That's why I'm telling you this. I can see the problems. A lot of our leaders cannot even see the issues we have because they are looking at the big picture, the bigger things, gigantic projects. Whereas the things that run the world are the very basic things, very small things that don't cost a lot of money to fix.
Do you have any problem with the school curriculum? After all, the reason why people will get educated is to get a good job. And in today's globalized economy, would someone who went to a school in Anambra State, for instance, compete with a child who went to school in Singapore or Hong Kong? So will you look at the school curriculum? Have you looked at our school curriculum?
Yes, the school curriculum is set at the federal level. I'm sure you know that. But in our own case, we can add, okay, vocational studies. We can add, but the main thing will be left as it is. But we can add things that will let them acquire skills, okay? There's no reason why a student, for instance, should leave our secondary school without learning one skill or the other. So we'll do all of that, and the world has changed, okay? You need to look at, there are many courses being done now that were not, when, for instance, my daughter is a chartered accountant, okay? She made a distinction in her master's class. Her first degree was in Nigeria, but Exeter University distinction. So studying in Nigeria didn't stop her from doing very well in England, okay? But because she studied the course she studied in her master's class was not in existence when I studied in England. So the world has moved on. We'll do all of that and ensure that our kids are equipped for the modern world.
Okay, still on education, there are two issues I want you to address. First is the issue of data. First is the issue of data. First of all, have you checked to see the number of primary schools we have in Anambra State, for instance, number of secondary school, number of teachers, number of pupils? And if I visit Anambra State now, I will see that there are primary schools everywhere. I don't know where is the state government that licenses this primary school, or is it the federal government? If it is the state, are you talking about standardization, their standard? Two questions.
Okay, first one, second one first. Okay. Yes, of course. It is the state that approves these schools. But if I'm talking about improving on education and trying to move from where we are to where we ought to be, it follows logically that we will look at the existing schools we have licensed to ensure that they are properly equipped to be able to give us the results that we seek. Okay, my mother runs a school. Our school was set up in 1988. And that school, ever since, has been achieving some of the best results in Anambra State. And every year, the pupils from there, get into gifted schools in Nigeria. Okay, so I know about that. And I always say to people, I am, and my siblings, we are products of good education, of having been brought up by a teacher. My mother, most of you know her as a politician, but no, we know her as a teacher, as an educationist. Because if you look at what she has achieved, myself and my siblings, I'm the first. We're not particularly gifted. I'm proud to say it anyway, average kids, okay? But this woman, because she was a teacher, she's a teacher, but was, from time to time, she still goes to her school to see what's going on there, okay? She was able to take average children, 6 of us, into being world-class performers. I'm not here to shout about, go gloat, but hey, you don't become a chartered accountant and the chairman of ICANN in UK if you don't know your onions. You cannot have 2 senior advocates of Nigeria in your family as lawyers if they don't know their onions. You cannot have a world-class publisher in England if he doesn't know what he's doing. You can't have somebody who is now the Deputy High Commissioner, posted as to Angola, as my first sister, as Deputy High Commissioner in Angola. And then the last one has been the head of private bank, Fidelity Private Bank in Nigeria. Okay, so, and these are 6 kids who could have just lost their way, but because so I know what education can do, okay? How we can, mold people the right way. So these schools will be looked at. We're not going to come in and begin to shut schools down that they fail to meet the standard. We'll encourage them. We'll help them to meet the standard. That's what the whole thing will be about. Those private schools, they've actually helped over the years. So, they have their roles to play, okay? Now, in terms of statistics, if Anambra, my campaign is if Anambra, we have a very, very strong unit dealing with all of that, okay? Looking at all the statistics we need so that we go into the election prepared, okay? We go into government prepared, and not when we get into government, we'll behave like, during the military era, there'll be a military coup, and Colonel Ben Etiaba proceed to Jigawa State, you're now the new administrator, and then Ben Etiaba will land at the governor's seat, administrator seat. Yeah, gentlemen, now we're in office, what do we do? Unprepared. No, this campaign is being well articulated. I'm sure you may have noticed that. And we are leaving no stone unturned. So that if God says, Ben, you're going to be the next governor of Anambra State, Anambra will go from where it is, in darkness, out of light. And when I say we're in darkness, please, let nobody criticize me. It's a spiritual thing. That's what I see. When I look at Anambra, I say we're in darkness, and I see that. And what do I mean by that? Come on, go to Nnewi, for instance. Go to Bank Road. Almost every road in Nnewi is now a garbage site. Okay? A clean environment abhors violence. Okay? A clean environment abhors many terrible behavior. Okay? So, if we can come in and clean up that place, that's part of taking us into light. When I say people don't understand that, we're not where we should be. And as we talked about security earlier, and what John Lennon once said that life is what happens to you when you are busy making other plans. There are so many things we will need to do to drag us into light. Elombah.
Thank you very much, sir. At this point, if you have any question to ask, please indicate by raising up your hand using your device. Right, let's call on Mazi HTM Okoye. First of all, can you okay, let me allow people to unmute themselves at this point going forward. So, yes, Mazi HTM Okoye, you can unmute yourself now and ask your question, please.
Good evening, Mr. Etiaba.
Good evening, my brother.
Yeah, thank you for coming to address us, to tell us your vision that you have for us, Anambra State people.
If you don't mind, you can please tell us your name, where you are from, whether you're from Anambra State, and where you live. Thank you.
Sorry. My name is Mazi HTM Okoye, and I'm from Ukulu, Dunukofia local government in Anambra State. I live here in Hertfordshire, in the UK, Welling Garden City to be precise. My question is about, I've participated in these discussions with former aspirants for this governorship, and most of them talks about their vision. This is okay when people talk about their vision. However, I feel that there is something missing in our leadership. We are not looking to get the people involved. We are not talking about the people. And you know that lived in the West here, that politics is about involvement. It's about people's democracy to work is about people's involvement. What are you going to do to get our people to pay attention to, took interest in politics, because it affects them without them knowing it? Because people come and say, okay, I'm going to be this savior, promise them heaven on earth. And eventually, what can one man do? He cannot solve everyone's problem. However, when they get involved, they can see what is going on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Daniel, please, do you mind if I answer one question at a time? Because if I take too many questions, I'll be distracted.
Yes, go ahead with this one before we take the others.
Mazi, thank you so much, my brother. You know, when you say, how do you want to get people involved? It's a loaded question. It's a generalized question, but let me just make some assumptions so I can deal with it and answer it. Getting people involved. I want to quote Ronald Reagan when he said that the greatest leader is not the one that does the greatest things, but the one who gets people to do other people to do the greatest things. Okay, so if I believe that, I already am conceding the fact that I don't know it all. And a great leader should not be somebody that knows it all, because no one knows it all. A great leader should be somebody who knows that he doesn't know it all and will have to rely on those who know to help him out. A great leader should be somebody who behaves like Alex Ferguson or Arsene Wenger, a good football coach, who's able to put a very good team together to score goals, to ensure you don't concede goals. Okay? So if I know that, and if that is my leadership style, it follows that I'll be somebody who will get the people involved. And let me tell you what is going on in Anambra State, for instance. I cannot remember the last time we held local government elections in Anambra State. I cannot tell you the last time it happened. Okay? And you and I know, if you live in the West, don't have to live I lived in England for 25 years, but I've been back 14 years. I've been living in Nigeria for 14 years now, the last 14 years. But if you live in England, you know that developments, most of it happens at the local government level. Garbage collection. I was just telling you as an example, what is going on in Nnewi. Nnewi is very filthy. The whole of Anambra State is filthy. Okay? These things are done at the local level. So what we intend to do, and to deal with Mazi's question, is that within the first 6 months of an APC government led by Etiaba, we're going to conduct a local government election. We're going to set up the state electoral commission with a view to conducting an election. And 12 months from then on, that election will be held. Because we need to free up our democracy at that level. Get people involved at the grassroots. Because that's the only way you can get work done. If you concentrate everything at the center, come on, it'll be too much for one person anyway. And you'll be ineffective. And we all know why our governors don't want to conduct local government election. You know why they don't want to do it. I'm not going to come here and tell you why. Okay? But I'm not interested in that. At that level, if you do that, local democracy will flourish because you're going to have councillors, you're going to have local government chairmen, you're going to have contractors at that level. A lot of people will be empowered and things will be done. All this crime, it will even serve to improve security and reduce crime. Okay? So yes, I will get people involved is the answer. And I'm giving you the place that I'll tell you this. I recall when Peter was contesting for governor. The first day he came to my house in the village to tell us that he wanted to run for governor. My brother-in-law, Osi, a lawyer, told him, Peter, then he wasn't governor. Peter, look, you sound right, but when you get into office, you do the same thing as everyone else. And he replied, he said this, that government changes nobody. That all government does is to bring out the real you. So if you know me, you will know that all these things that I'm saying I'll do, I will do them because I've done them everywhere I've gone. That's why I'll be re-elected and unopposed as the chairman of ICANN, re-elected unopposed as the captain of the golf sector, re-elected unopposed as the chairman of Enugu Sports Club, okay? Because any pledge I make going into that election, I always try to keep. And if I fail to keep it, you understand why. But I will always keep my pledges.
All right. I thank you very much. We remind our listeners that at the end of every interview, we do step back to consider some of the issues raised. So we welcome you to stay on if you want to, either after our guest has left, to still be with us to consider some of the issues raised. Right. Our next question, I think, Lucky Guinea Gem, I think he was the second person that raised his hand. Has he left? Lucky Guinea Gem, is still with us?
No, I'm still here. I'm still here, sir.
All right. Can you please unmute yourself and ask your question?
Hello, Elombah, I'm still here.
Yeah, please ask your question.
Yes, I've done that. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Chief Etiaba, good evening. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Good evening, my brother.
You sound fresh. It's nice.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to hear fresh ideas. And let me start with things that worry for me, because I understand that you're right.
Have we lost Lucky? Lucky, are you still with us? All right, we will allow you to get your network back. Let's get question from Tango, please. The third person that raised up his hand. Mr. Tango Ugochukwu, please. Can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Are you hearing me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Brother Etiaba.
Good evening.
Good, wonderful. You're from a political family, you know. Your mother, Iron Lady. But now we want to turn to all your own experience. What is your own idea on continuity? Continuity, because continuity.
Okay.
Now, assuming tomorrow now you're a governor, what is your own idea? How do you handle continuity? Look at any project that you meet.
Oh, all right. Thank you. Tango, thank you so much. When you said continuity, I was struggling with understanding it, but you explained it properly to me. I have said in various interviews, granted, that I just don't believe in trying to start projects so that I can have legacies that I'll be remembered for. I don't believe in that. I believe that the first thing we should do ought to be to continue and finish viable, not every project, but not white elephant projects, viable projects started with Egondi Anambra over the years. Okay, let me give you one example. And it hurts me each time I drive past Oka and I see the Women Development Center. Okay, I can't remember if it wasn't Banduji that started it or Dr. Christian that started it. But that project is lying there unfinished, and we're starting new ones. I give this pledge that every viable project commenced by any previous regime before a Ben Etiaba government, APC government, if I win the ticket of APC in 2 weeks and become the governor, that I will complete them. That's the first pledge I'll give. Another example, because I've talked about this all the time, many times. I will commit to not building a single new road. Anambra has the best network of roads of all the states in Nigeria. But if you go to Anambra, I don't know when last you were in Nigeria, if you're abroad, you'll find that all our roads are potholed. They are not motorable anymore. We are struggling. And instead of leaving them to build new roads, so people will say, oh, Governor Etiaba did this road and did that, flagged off this one and complete. No. I will ensure that within the first few months of a Ben Etiaba APC government, say by the first Christmas of next year, which will be the first Christmas post-inauguration if I am the governor, that I will fix every pothole that we currently have in Anambra State. It just doesn't make sense to go build new roads when the existing ones are not motorable. It just wouldn't make sense to build new roads when we have not freed up traffic along our bottlenecks of Nnobi Junction, okay? Ekulobia Junction, Oga Junction. Name them Ogidi, okay? Every Christmas, you might be trapped. Our people come with a convoy of 6 vehicles. One person.
And Junction.
Okay, all of them. Convoy of 6 vehicles. That's the one that I think is probably the one Ekulobia or whatever that I was referring to. But they come with a big convoy and nobody moves. You're there for hours. So why can't we attack these things instead of building new roads? Not that new roads will be built if there's a compelling need, especially if those roads will lead us to our farmlands to evacuate our agricultural products, okay? Because agriculture will be very major in the APC agenda if I win. So I'll complete projects started. Tango.
All right. Thank you very much. Look, we call on the next person is Mr. Azu Ikejani. Please, can you unmute yourself?
Tango asked part of the question. Honorable Etiaba.
Azu, go ahead.
During P2P's administration, of course, I'm typing something now too.
Yeah.
The Anambra State imported a lot of tractors. I saw them myself, sitting right there in the Oka, because I visited that place.
Yeah.
Today, somebody came to tell us they will mechanize farming in Anambra State. My question to you is this, because a lot of those tractors are immobilized, that is lack of maintenance and they abandon them. What will be your immediate plans to mechanize farming in Anambra State?
Okay. What I will say about this is that anybody that has ever heard me speak will always tell you that I will always talk about M.I. Abara. And M.I. Abara was our leader and the best the Igbo nation ever had. And M.I. Abara was able to take the economy of the Eastern region to be one of the fastest growing economies of the world within 4 years of being that. 4 years is the first term of a governor. He did achieve that within 4 years. By 1964, we were rated by a team of professors who came in from Massachusetts State University, okay? It was Professor Anya Oanya that stumbled into that report, their report issued after that visit. And everybody quotes that without giving credit to that to Professor Anya. My take is this: if you see my profile, you'll find that I say a lot about M.I. Abara, and it's there on one page. And one of those pictures there was where M.I. Abara was in Israel to negotiate with the Israelis to come to the Eastern region to mechanize agriculture. So if M.I. Abara could do that in the 60s, in today's world, with a leader who obviously has a great world view, if I am the leader, that's one of the things we'll be looking at. We must have a governor who has a great worldview, okay? Not somebody with a narrow spectrum, okay? Now, if MI could do that in the 60s, what do you think Ben Etiaba, exposed as today is a global village, will do to agriculture? A lot of our leaders pay lip service to agriculture, but with agriculture, if we get it right, we will curb unemployment. We will sustain ourselves, feed ourselves. We will earn, because we'll not just feed ourselves, we'll export food, okay? We'll keep our people engaged and out of mischief. Even some of these insecurity issues will be curtailed using agriculture. So you're just asking the right, somebody like me, that's the kind of thing that should appeal to me. I know the virtue of agriculture, okay? And that's something, and we practiced it. Anybody who knew us growing up will know that, yes, we were the children of the chief magistrate and the teacher, but we had our farms. We always visited, went to the farms to plant and weed. Our parents made sure, all 6 of us, I can't remember if the girls were involved at the time, I think it was the boys, all 4 of us did that. So I know the virtue of agriculture. My mother majored in agriculture. That was what she studied, okay, in university. So you're speaking to the converted. So agriculture will be it's one of the 5. In fact, it's our 4th cardinal point. So it's a very serious pledge that I give to the Anambra. Elombah.
Thank you very much, sir. Oh, let's call on Prince Well Okoro, please. I don't know. Are you able to unmute yourself? I can't. Please, any co-host can help me to unmute him if you can identify him, because I've just stopped people from unmuting them. Yes, I can see you now. Prince Well Okoro. Can you please, or do you want to, you say you want to type your question, or do you want to ask yourself? If you want to ask yourself or unmute yourself, if you want me to ask on your behalf, you can type it out on the chat room. Before he makes his decisions, I want to ask this question. There was a time we analyzed the peculiar politics of Anambra State. And one of the questions our discussants identified is the influence of money in Anambra politics. In fact, it was said that unless you are a billionaire, or unless you're able to raise billions, there is no way you can win governorship election in Anambra State. So I want to ask you, first of all, are you a billionaire?
Okay, you know me, I'm sure you know me enough to know that of all the aspirants, 14 in APC, 16 in PDP, I know any number in Afghan. I'm probably the one with the least war chest of my own. But to win, it is not the money that wins you elections. Otherwise, the billionaires will be governors every 4 years. No, it's not about that. The person who will win will need to raise a lot of money. That is correct. Anywhere in the world, you cannot win an election in UK if your campaign is not properly funded. You cannot win it in the US if your campaign is not properly funded. But it just doesn't mean that the person with the deepest wallet wins it. No way. People, but come on, are we goats? No way. You need to raise enough money to do the necessary things you will have to do. Beyond the basic amount of money you need, any other thing you're spending is a waste. You're just having fun. Okay? So I don't have the billions, but I have raised, and I'm still raising enough to keep it going, and enough to notice, to get to the notice of people like Elombah. Otherwise, why are you coming here tonight? So
all right,
we're raising enough, we'll get it done. So it's not the billions that will make you governor, because otherwise billionaires would have been our governors every 4 years. So don't worry.
All right, immediately I asked this question. There is a question they asked on one of our Facebook pages. It reads, so how do you plan to deal with the billionaires in Anambra State, the Atoezes, the Emeka Ofors, all these godfathers everywhere? How do you intend to deal with them?
Okay, I don't have to deal with them or deal with anybody, if you know what I mean in terms of dealing.
Yes.
All I have to do is to do what I'm doing, to keep saying what I'm saying tonight, to keep reaching out to our people. First of all, this election is twofold. The first one is the primary of APC, which will come up in 2 weeks, 2 Saturdays, about 2 weeks from today, which is why I say it's a good omen that I'm talking to you tonight, okay? Now, the people you mentioned are not delegates. They will not be voting in that primary, okay? In any way, even if it's a direct primary, they will not be voting in that primary. So I'm not too worried about that, okay? Now, let me emerge the candidate of my party, and by his grace, I believe I will be that candidate of APC. If I didn't believe that, I wouldn't be in this race. I'm not here to have fun. I'm not on a frolic, okay? Here is a very serious bid, and it's a spiritual bid, okay? And if by his grace, my wish is confirmed by the Most High God, then I'll have to deal with the rest of Anambra. And that's where the billionaires will come in. And we're not scared of billionaires. We're not scared of the godfathers. They are human beings like you and I. They don't have 2 heads or 4 eyes. Why are we scared of them? We will talk to them the same way as I'm talking to everyone tonight. I will speak to, and by the way, these people that we're discussing and we're mentioning, they also want to see good governance in Anambra. Don't forget that. Because if Anambra works, it works for all of us, including them. If it doesn't work like it's not working today, they're also running away from Anambra. So they know the difference between Ben, Etiaba, and the rest. Okay? So they know the difference between who can perform. I'm not saying I can perform and the rest cannot, please. But they know the difference, that I can do this thing differently. And if they support me, Anambra can be safe. And they can come back to Anambra and enjoy their 10-car convoy. So that's it. So I said, so I'm not scared of them. You deal with them like you deal with any stakeholder. They are major stakeholders, and they are members. They're from our state, and they want to see good governance too.
Oh, okay. I think taking from that question, there was a program being addressed by P2B then, and he said that Anambra being a state full of billionaires, that he will receive one call. One of them will call me, "Hey, Governor, I'm coming to you. I'm coming to Governor's Lodge tonight." P2B will say, the way he dealt with them, said, "No, don't come to my office. I will come to your house tomorrow morning." Because once the billionaire come to your house, you will find out he actually urgent now, and they actually billionaire urgent. So suppose they say, okay, we'll give you 2 billion naira to support your campaign, and then you allow me to nominate 2 commissioners in your cabinet. How does that go with you?
Let me say this to you, which is why I say I'm not scared of any billionaire. I'm not scared of any godfather. In fact, Dan Elombah, your godfather, you're one of the godfathers.
I don't think so.
Now, if you say to Ben Etiaba, I'll give you XYZ, it doesn't have to be 2 billion, it can be 100,000 naira or whatever. But I want you to consider my nominees. That won't worry me at all. The nominees will be in the Anambra, no, so. Bring them now, we'll assess them. If they meet the standard we are looking for, they'll be engaged. On the Anambra, I lose the job. I don't care who nominates them. What I'm looking at is competence, okay? Whether Elombah is coming to work for Ben Etiaba-led government in Anambra State, nominated by Mr. Okeke Okafor, or nominated by Professor AUC, just is neither here nor there. What I'll be looking for will be competence. Will you be qualified to get that job done? And can I work with you? Can I trust you? Can the Anambra? And if, of course, even if these nominees come and they don't perform, out of the window immediately, I will never compromise the interest of Indian Anambra for anybody. I just don't care what that person has done for me.
All right, we thank you very much. We still have some minutes left for this interview. Let's call again. Mazioke has raised up his hand again. Can you please unmute yourself and ask a question?
Thank you for giving
sorry, I'm so sorry, Mazioke. I'm sure you will be here, please. There is one question that the guy begged me to ask. I had it in mind. Sorry, I'll come back to you. I'm so sorry. The guy, Mr. Prince Will Okoro, said, "I am a final year medical student, UNN." I think there's a background noise. Where is that coming from? Please, can a co-host help me to mute everyone speaking in the background? Tim, you are not a co-host. Why? Let me make you one. I can't find you. Okay, please, sorry, let me ask this question. I am a final year medical student, UNN. Some weeks ago, I asked some of my colleagues who are Anambra Indigenes if they know Chief Ben Etiaba and willing to support him. All of them said they don't know him. My question is, how is Chief Ben Etiaba going to reach all youths and earn their support?
Thank you very much.
Oh, if
exactly. So by asking him, he already knows me. And by asking them, and they didn't know me, they already became aware of me. So that's not a problem. This is a two-way process, a two-stage process. Some of my fellow aspirants are already campaigning for the main election, which is not the right way to go about it. But I'm not advising them. I don't have to be known by the market woman at this stage. There's nothing wrong with being known by the market woman, by the way. I don't have to be known by the town unions or they are not the delegates that will elect me. The moment it's members of my party that will elect me and they know me. The moment that primary result is announced and I become the nominee of APC, automatically all of them will know me the same second they hear the news. Okay, and those who may not have known my antecedents will begin now to ask questions. And I have a lot of materials on social media, on the net. They can now go look up Ben Etiaba and begin to see Ben Etiaba. So that should not worry you. I say I quoted Brad Solos that the key to success is to do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. And if you understand what the process should be, you keep your eyes on the ball. I don't want to be the most popular aspirant in Anambra today. In fact, in APC, I don't even want to be the most popular aspirant in APC. That's not what's going to get me elected. But I want the majority of members of APC who will vote as delegates in 2 Saturdays to come on the 26th of June to trust me. That's what's going to do it, not love. Love doesn't win you elections. Trust, but people keep forgetting that.
All right, are we still here? Okay. I think so you've addressed that question. So meanwhile, the person who asked the question shows the appreciation that is satisfied with the answer. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yes, okay. Mazi Okoye
good
now.
Good luck in your final year too.
Exactly. Mazi Okoye, please. You can now ask your question.
Thank you again. My question is, in your opening remarks, you mentioned about that our people don't know what is broken in our system or in our culture or in our politics. My question is, what you mentioned a few, like the environment, the state of the environment, the state of the infrastructure. What other things do you think that is broken that need fixing? And how would you go about fixing them?
Very good. Okay, I have 5 cardinal points to attack, to fix, and let me use this opportunity to mention them. I'll mention them first, then I'll tell you how I'll do each one. The first one is security. We've already talked about it. Second one is education. We've already talked about it. The third one is health. I'll get back to it. Fourth one is agriculture. We've already talked about it. And the fifth is infrastructure. We partly talked about it. So there are 2 major areas to address now, and that's health sector and integrated infrastructure. In the health sector, my wife is a doctor. She qualified as a medical doctor in 1988. She was quite young then. In the health sector, we have a lot of Anambra citizens as sort of great performers in England, in the US, okay? And our people leave Anambra State on medical tourism only to come to England to consult in the Anambra to help them with their healthcare needs, and they go to America to do the same thing. So if we have our people with this level of competence globally, how come we don't have a single world-class hospital in Anambra State? And let me tie it into what I talked about, failed projects or completing projects. I will not commit to building new hospitals. I will not commit to that. We have enough hospitals. But I will tell you that in an APC government led by Etiaba, that we're going to have hospitals that look like hospitals, just like we're going to have schools that look like schools, okay? Our hospitals will meet the minimum standard of infrastructural development. Security, a lot of hospitals and even clinics or cottage health centers don't have perimeter fencing, just like in schools. We're going to fix this thing so that the infrastructure is right. Today, even healthcare, healthcare needs and delivery has gone digital, but we are ill-equipped, okay, for the modern way of dispensing healthcare. So we're going to bring in modern equipment to the existing hospitals that would have fixed. Our doctors are leaving en masse because they are not being rewarded. They are not being paid properly and promptly. We're going to do that and pay them properly and make sure we have the right people. We're going to make that sector attractive enough that a lot of our doctors and nurses and pharmacists, healthcare professionals who are stranded abroad, I say they are stranded, they are earning big bucks, big money abroad, but they want to come back home to help. They've made enough money in the US and in England. They want to come back home and to help. I'll make sure I'm a diasporan like them. I'm going to make sure I tap. That is not to say that the doctors we have in Nigeria are not right. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying the situation is overwhelming them. They need help. I have a great friend, Dr. Joe Mwilo, who lives in Atlanta. Joe comes in once in a while to do open heart surgery in Adazi. There's a hospital in Adazi, okay? St. Joseph's Hospital, I believe, in Adazi. He'll do all that and fly back. He'll spend 3, 4 days, 5 days, and he'll fly back. Why can't we have many Joe Mwilos residents in Anambra dispensing proper healthcare? But for that to happen, we need to make the place conducive for them to come. So healthcare, that's it. But let's talk about the integrated infrastructure. That's where you have this idea of monorail. I say Anambra has the best network of roads. So we're going to fix the roads, the existing roads, before doing new ones, okay? And free up those bottlenecks, okay? Before, sort of doing new roads. But we're going to do monorail. And if you think it's a far-fetched idea, I'll tell you it is not. Already, I have a Turkish company happy to come in and do the monorail in Anambra State with their own money, operate it for 10 years, earn their money, and then leave, and it will revert to us. And in those 10 years, they'll be paying us. All it will cost us, guess what? To do the feasibility study and pay for it. I tell you, it is not rocket science. Peter Obi did that. He already, in his own case, I think it was a Canadian company, that's already fully paid for a feasibility study, a master plan for that. So all we need to do in terms of continuity of projects, go dust up that feasibility study. Dust it up, update it, upgrade it, and begin to implement it, and bring in people who can get this thing done. Because a lot of the congestion you see is because we don't have alternatives. If you're going to jump on a train from Nnewi to Onitsha or to Ihiala to somebody can leave Oga, go to work in Oka and come back or whatever. You know, why can't you do it? You leave your vehicle at home. It's less stressful. You know, so these things are not rocket science. We're going to do them. Rotimi Amechi nearly completed his own in River State, but it was abandoned project. In Enugu, they did not continue with their own, but these things can be, can be implemented and can be done. But apart from that, look at energy. In the area of energy, I know that power is one of the things on the exclusive list in our constitution. It's a federal government prerogative. But there are ways of circumventing it where you can do small pockets of independent power plants and give your people power. In Anambra State, we have a lot of industries, okay? But these industries cannot operate at their maximum because there's no energy to back up, sort of to give them the teeth they need, okay? You know that there are alternative sources of power. Okay, our people are now beginning to implement, sort of use solar power, but not enough. But what about wind farms? If you go to Scotland now, and I'm sure you know this, a lot of the farmers in Scotland, they've given their land free, not free, they've given their land to wind farms and to generating energy. And we have a lot of land wasting, doing nothing. I will commit those to that generating power that way, okay? The place is filthy. We talked about the environment. It's all part of our integrated master plan for infrastructure, okay? The place is filthy. Chickerson has done one of the biggest plants now, waste disposal plants now. What is all this for? Plastics. Why can we not go from waste to energy and clean up Anambra State at the same time and use it to generate energy? Okay, I can tell you that I'm aware that when the Etiaba was there as governor for just 3 months, there was a Canadian company that came. They went to Onitsha, looked around, and they were very excited that Onitsha was very filthy, that the raw materials they needed there for alternative energy can be found there. Why can't we do this? But no, we're so lazy in thinking. We're not creative. All we're relying on is every month we go to Abuja, get the federal allocation, come back and share it like a share, and then wait for the next one. That is not being creative. That is not being critical, being a critical thinker, and that's not going to take us to where we need to be. Remember, a great leader should be one with the capacity and ability to take his people from where they are to where they should be, not where they want to be. I think I said this earlier on.
Okay, well, thank you. Let's call on Sam. Samuel, are you still there? Please ask your question, and then we'll be rounding up in the next 8 minutes. Samuel, please.
All right, good evening to you all.
Good evening,
Yeah, I'm
Sam.
Samuel. Yeah,
I think I know Sam.
I'm from Benue State, and I've been in Anambra for over 15 years, and I've participated in all the elections for the time I've been here. It's not a question per se. I just want to commend Chief Ben Etiaba. He's selfless and one of the most humble person I've ever met. At his level, he flows with virtually everybody. And I bet you, if he's elected the governor of Anambra State, there's going to be a lot of changes. I have no doubt about that. And on the air, I want to tell you that I'm going to mobilize everybody from Benue State that I know in this state to vote for you if actually you become the APC Governor Aspirant in Anambra State. That's all I have to say for now. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sam.
What a resounding endorsement for you here. I have two last questions from the.
Thank you, Sam.
I have two last questions from the chat room. What are your plans for healthcare in Anambra State? It hurts me to know that most government hospitals in Nigeria lack the basic needs like oxygen. What have we learned from the pandemic?
Okay, can I deal with that?
Yes, unless you want to take the next question because our time is almost up. The next question there is, where will you get the money to do all the things you are promising to do?
Thank you so much. If you notice from my promises, I've actually kept the promises to a manageable level. I have not overpromised. There is nothing I say that cannot be funded. Say, for instance, I haven't come here to tell you that I'll give free education, free healthcare. I haven't said that. I'm a chartered accountant, I'm an auditor. And I know that once you say you'll do something, you should be held to account. And you're also going to demonstrate how you will fund it. So the promises have been very, very modest. But we have three sources of funding. One is the federal allocation that I've just mentioned. Those should not really worry a creative governor because they'll come anyway. The second one is our IGR. Enugu State reports more IGR than Anambra. How can that be? Enugu is a civil servant state. With Anambra, with all the markets we have, with all the task force and tax enforcement officers going around beating up the people, and we're not able to, sort of measure up to Enugu State. It shows you that the money is being collected, not getting to the coffers of government. So the first thing we'll do is to ensure that we don't tax people more than they are paying already. In fact, if anything, they should pay less, okay? We'll assess properly, we'll collect properly, I've said this several times, we'll record and account for it properly and use it to develop the police. Anambra should be doing 5 times in Nigeria than we're doing at the moment. So that's what I say about that. But that's not even the other one. The main developmental funds are not even being tapped at all. There are many free funds being given by foreign donors. All they want to see is a government they can do business with. And what I mean by doing business with, they want to see a governor that is honest, a government that will not pocket the monies when they come. There were so many developmental funds we're not tapping at all. A Etiaba-led APC administration will go for those funds. I know where they are and I'll get them and I'll use them to develop Anambra. And when I say this, there's nothing magical or even, we had them in Anambra before and they all left. We'll bring them back and we'll have some more. Thank you.
All right, my final question is twofold. One, do you have you spoke about IGR. Do we have the average monthly IGR for Anambra State for the past 6 months? And two, do we have the average FAAC allocation for Anambra State? Do you have them? And then finally, what is your vision for Anambra State?
Okay, we have them. I told you we have a technical unit whose job it is to collate all the statistics, okay? I never asked for the current ones to come in here with here tonight, so let me not give you the wrong figures. But what I can tell you is that consistently, we've reported far less than Enugu State over historically. Now, the vision for Anambra is simply this, that we want to run a government that, this often quoted mantra, that should take Anambra out of darkness and into light. A government that will not be fixated with the big projects, okay? Or the little things that run the world, like I always say. We want to run a government that will be honest with itself and honest with the people. We want to run a government that will be selfless, okay? We're going for servant leadership, okay? We will not run a government that will be hostile to the people. We'll run a transparent government. We'll run a government that will lead by example. We'll run a lean government, lean, because the cost of governance in Nigeria is enormous. Let me give you one example. You find that our governors will move in a convoy of 15 vehicles, one person, 15 vehicles, with the wear and tear, being fueled, the personnel, all unnecessary to go from one point from government house to his village. Not necessary. So we're going to make sure that we reduce cost enormously. But at the same time, want to lead and show the difference between darkness and light, because we want to ensure that our people begin to see that tomorrow will be better than today, and in turn, decide to give the next government of Anambra State, an APC one, benefit of the doubt, and to scale down on agitations.
Thank you very much, Chief Ben Etiaba, for being at Elombah Television tonight. We've been listening to you now for almost 90 minutes. So it's been a pleasure having you to articulate your vision for Anambra State and how you intend to govern should you be elected as the governor of Anambra State. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Daniel, and thank you to all the viewers. I am really humbled that we've had such a huge turnout tonight, and my prayer is that if God confirms my plans, this evening won't have been wasted, because we will see a difference between what has been and what will be. Thank you. Good night, everybody.